The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Howdy ho, everybody. It's Tuesday night, July 2nd, 2024. It's 11 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, 8 p.m. on the West Coast, 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Sydney, Australia, and here where I'm sitting in Northeast Minneapolis, it's 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time. I am Jim Peters, and welcome to another edition of Jim Peters Tonight. This is episode number 131, if you're keeping score at home. How you guys doing? We got it going on. It's like we always do. I'd like to welcome everybody from Twitch back. We couldn't connect to Twitch last night. Problem with their API. I don't really know. It wasn't on our end, but anyway, we're back there. I've told you this before. Putting this show on, especially at the beginning, it's like launching a freaking rocket. I got so many goddamn clocks going on here, and so we're broadcasting simultaneously on 6 different platforms. 5 video, 1 audio. And so I push one button to connect to all of them, right? And it's the interweb. So I have I'm guessing basically on how long that connection takes. It usually takes about 20 seconds, but it's a guess. So I got another clock here. I got to coordinate with Blog Talk Radio, and maybe you hear the sexy British lady, and she does her countdown. Like, usually it doesn't sneak through. Occasionally it does. And at the very end of the show, if you watch till the very end, when we cut out, lights out, usually you hear her voice. But anyway, it's like it's like I'm Elon Musk without the money. That's what it's like. I'm not launching any rockets. Who am I fooling? Okay, what do we got going on tonight? I'll tell you what we got going on. Jeff Meyer's coming on. He's the CEO and publisher of Con News. And we got it with 3 shows this week. We're not doing a show on Thursday because it's July 4th. And the theme basically has been, I should have called it Lying Fucking Liars Part 2 tonight. I didn't in the show description. That was the show description last night because I really want to get some journalists on here and some news people to talk about the fact that the mainstream media has been lying through their teeth to us for years. And I have even friends who watch the show, and a lot of them are liberals and they watch because they like me, but they don't buy a goddamn thing I say or anybody else that says on this channel either. But, they ask me, okay, this is okay, how does the mainstream media lie? And there's so many examples on the top of my head, I can't think of one, Well, now we got one. Joe Biden is a doddering dementia patient, and he's been running the country for 3 years, and now everybody knows, and everyone's panicking. The Democratic Party's in complete disarray right now, and we'll talk with Jeff about that too. But I wanted Jeff come on because he's in the news business, and tomorrow we got David Strom coming on, and actually it was David Strom's columns over the weekend that kind of inspired me. He's the associate editor of hotair.com. And he's written, I think, a good 6 articles now over the last 4, 5, 6 days about this whole thing, about the fact that the mainstream media has basically been lying through their teeth to us for years. And finally, people are starting to catch on. He's coming on tomorrow. I actually wanted to have Tim Conaway on this show too, or on this week. I wanted him on Monday, but he didn't get back to me till this afternoon. He's like me, old farts. We don't check our phones. It's terrible. I'm in business here, and I don't check my phone. I don't. Well, actually, I don't keep the ringer on. That's really what it is. But anyway, so he longtime editor too of about a dozen different publications, mainstream media magazines. I wanted him on, but so Jeff's here, and Jeff will do. He's good enough. He's more than good enough. and David Strom is coming on tomorrow night. So that's our show. You can call in. You see the ticker at the bottom of the screen. There's 3 ways you can call in. You can call in with your webcam. You go to jimandknight.com/call. Yes, it's a web page. There's a giant blue button at the top of the page. You click on the button. You will get to adjust your camera and microphone, and then you click join on the bottom of the screen, and you're in the queue. It's simple as pie. It's easier than making a FaceTime call. Seriously, it is. You can call if you don't want your face on the screen. You can call just with your phone, like on the radio. That number is 563-999-3435. And same thing, you end up in a queue here too, and I put you on the air. And then, of course, nobody can see you then. You can send us a text in real time too. That number is 408-458-5088. That's all on the bottom of the screen. It scrolls by permanently. You'll be able to see it. Go to town, especially if you have a question for Jeff. You might want to text it in. But seriously, you want to call up, it's fine. We'll talk to you. We're good. I mentioned the fact we're back on Twitch tonight. I also want to mention the fact that I mentioned this last night. It turned out that the last 2 weeks of shows we did in June, the audio podcasts ended up completely screwed up, and we did not know that. Now, we fixed that last night. It turned out we installed a new soundboard. And I thought we tested it thoroughly. Well, apparently somebody pushed the wrong button. That somebody's probably me, but those things all got screwed up for about 5 or 6 of them. We're going to replace them this coming weekend. We have backup files, so we'll replace those. But yeah, that's what we got here. So we're going to put Jeff on now because he's lovable. He thinks people think he's angry. He's not. He's a very lovable man. But you get to listen to 12 seconds of bumper music first. Hey, Mr. Meyer. Hi.
I'm awake.
I'm good. All right, stand up and show everybody your shirt. Okay. It says how to calculate your fair share. 1, how much did you make last year? 2, send it in. Love it, man. Love it.
Yes.
You're a businessman through and through. Hey, before we get to any of this shit about the whole Democratic Party imploding, let's talk about this SCOTUS interpretation about the fact that the president's official acts are immune to prosecution, and everyone on the left's losing their minds. And I just think this is fucking nuts. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was just reading something from Marty had sent about basically, what they said was the acts can be reviewed. I don't know the legal terms to it, but someone's going to decipher, was it a presidential act or was it a personal act?
Right.
Just this hula hoop, which again, see, the media still hasn't learned. So they think they can get this out and people are going to care. It takes 17 minutes for them to explain it. And people are lost after 17 seconds. So again, no, the president doesn't have immunity from everything. Someone's going to referee and determine what's a presidential act and what's a personal act. And
yeah,
that's why we have a court system.
Right. But let me ask you this, and now we're delving into the actual reason I wanted you on tonight. Aren't they counting on the fact that most people don't pay attention to this stuff? I mean, there's the stuff they throw out is so wildly wrong, but they're just counting on the fact that people aren't really paying attention. People are going over they're taking their kids to soccer practice, and then, and they throw this crap out, and it's just crap.
Well, and so if I'm hearing you correctly, are you saying they're throwing it out and there's no one to listen to it, but that's their job is to throw it out? Or they throw it out thinking people will just catch a little piece of it and believe what they hear and not, right? I mean, so
Maybe both. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's, first of all, people are paying attention. because
Yes.
their wallet is empty.
Right.
And when your wallet's empty, you're like, why is my wallet empty?
Yeah. Okay, but do you think is that the reason people are paying attention, or are people just paying more attention because they realize they've been gaslighted for years? Do you think, or
Well,
both?
one causes the other,
Uh-huh.
right?
Hold it. Say again. I lost you there. What'd you say?
One caused the other. The empty wallet caused them to have to pay attention
Uh-huh.
because they're doing the same things with worse results. That will get your attention. Like, I'm going to stop eating McDonald's every day. I should lose weight. Why am I not losing weight? And you stop and you go, what else? Well, I replaced McDonald's with Burger King. Oh, shoot. Right?
You know my life.
But that's what's happening. Just intrinsically, people are, maybe they took a second job, maybe they got a raise, maybe their spouse took a job, the hours they're not working. I mean, people are trying to dig out of this and they can't. You can't, your life jacket says you should be able to get a breath because it's holding you up a little bit, and it's not. And so that makes everyone's radar get sharper.
Yeah. Huh. Okay, so today
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that that the people that say you're lying are probably the people that are lying.
yeah. And it seems to me that more and more people are catching on to that. Is that what you see?
Yes, and I would flip the script from, you can't sit there and go, no, you're the liar. No, you're the liar. No, you're the liar. Because the Republicans have tried that for years. It doesn't work. They'll still try it. And that's why I hate the Republican Party. What you have to go by is, let's look at the report card. So whatever, I was born in 1965, the year after the Great War on Poverty started. So the report card for the war on poverty in 58 years is an F, right?
Okay.
Infrastructure, that's an F, right? A ship hit a bridge because no one put any, they put them in front of buildings now because old people like Biden are driving and they jump through the storefront. So they put those concrete pillars in front to protect it. Couldn't do that on a bridge that ships are going by. Smaller government, that's an F. They're trying to grow the middle class, right? They're always trying to protect the middle class. That's probably an F triple plus.
Yeah, really.
Lead the world, have the U.S. be a leader in the education of our children. That's another F. Climate change. That's an F because they have never put any restrictions on India or China. Right? Yeah. They're restricting us. We went through our industrial revolution 100 years ago. Right. The rest of the world says to us, well, we're going through ours now, so we can do the same thing you did. And we don't say, no, if you do that, we will stop all of our dollars to you.
Yeah.
You have to do a different path. You don't get to follow the path us idiots did here, following the British or and through their industrial revolution. And then to me, the biggest foreign, what do I want to call it? We still have all these military bases in foreign countries. That's an F. We aren't colonizers. We've proven that. That's why we don't have any old colonies anywhere, like in Africa or wherever. And so that's an F because we haven't said we don't need to have a military base in Japan. And if someone says, yes, we do, why?
Yeah, we have them everywhere too.
Subs cover any target while they're sitting in their port.
Yeah.
And they've been able to do that since the late 80s.
Yeah, not to mention the fact you can send a submarine pretty much anywhere and bomb anything.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's a way to keep the money from staying in your pocket, and it goes to the government because they can spend it better. Well, those two lines are crossing before our very eyes, and it's the best thing that can happen. And like I've said for a year or 6 months on your show, it's going to be painful. So anyone that says, I don't want to go through the pain, well, you're going to go through it no matter what.
Yeah. Now,
So-
Jeff, it's funny you should mention that. So there's more. I have a couple articles here from the last few days. This is basically going back to last Friday about the fact there's still people who think there's going to be a major, major recession in the next like 3-4 months. And also there's people who think the stock market's going to crash too, even though the NASDAQ hit a all-time high today, but still, I mean, my problem, I don't have a problem with this per se. The reason I think maybe there's something true to it, I mean, I've said this before. I don't see how we can print this much worthless money and nothing bad can happen, you know?
Right. And the stock market is the worst measurement for how healthy things are.
Yeah, it kind of always has been.
Every payroll period, your 401k money gets removed from your check and sent into this Ponzi scheme. So it never suffers a month of no new cash coming in. So it comes in, it's got to go somewhere. And so it just keeps inflating it.
Yeah. Murray Sabrin, I have a friend of mine who calls in and he makes fun of Murray, but Murray's been saying for like 3 years that by the end of this year, there's going to be some major correction. I'm starting to wonder if it might even be the Democrats' black swan moment too. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they probably are really excited about Trump going to take this sinking ship over, because in their minds, you can't fix it. It's like Obama saying, what are you going to wave a magic wand? That's coming from a guy who never understood how the private sector worked.
No.
And so they don't get it. Like, yeah, you can make a sick business really quick. You just start slashing expenses. People, frilly things, there's no more birthday celebrations. We're happy you were born. We're happy you work here, but we just are not budgeting, a $500 birthday party for 100 people. We're just not doing that. We're going to be here to work and be productive. If that comes back down the road, we can address it again. But usually those things get killed and they never come back because they are stupid.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, though. Do you think they're going to that Biden is going to be dropped as a nominee?
Well, I've said it before. No, he's an old guy. They don't go away quietly.
Oh, no. Yeah, he won't go away quietly.
And
absolutely.
His wife loves the power.
Right.
To me, and I'm no fan of Kamala Harris, but and again, this is why I think it's interesting to see. You saw the men go into women's sports and the women didn't do shit. They could have fixed it the first day.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
One goes over there and cock punches this dude, and
I
he
just think
can't
it's
come off into
disgusting.
the pool.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
They could have fixed that. And so now you're going to take Kamala Harris, and I'm all for let them prove themselves to be either worthy or not. We don't have to judge it by an assumption. The rule says if the president isn't healthy enough to run the country, the 25th Amendment comes in, the vice president takes over. Why not let it happen? I listened to, I was thinking about it today. I consume about 6 hours of news a day.
Yeah.
Because that's part of what I do all day. And so I start with Morning Joe, who's been absent for 2 days. Everyone's wondering where he is.
Yeah. Supposedly the rumor is that him and Mika had a really bad argument. I don't know if you heard that.
Something, because she's on the air and he isn't.
He isn't. That's right.
And so, you look at that and it's like, then you go to the conservative media and they're all scared of Kamala. It's like, why would you be? It doesn't have to be the boogeyman in the closet. It can be the tooth fairy. Let's open the door and see. I think Kamala Harris deserves the opportunity, if Joe Biden can't do his job, to run the country. We have an election in November. Why be afraid of it?
Here's a possible reason for that. I'm watching Gutfeld's show last night, and Tyrus has a really interesting theory. He thinks that the real reason they don't want Kamala to have it is because he thinks at the end of the day they can't control her. That's what he thinks. I mean, like with Biden, they got an empty vessel, they got the
Yeah,
giant
right.
Democratic machine does whatever they want. They think that if Kamala goes in there, Kamala may be an idiot, but she's headstrong and they can't push her around. That's what he thinks. And I thought, well, that's interesting,
Which again is fine to me,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, let her prove she's not worthy.
Yeah.
Let the system work, because what they want in both parties, they want to say we have this constitution and all these rules and we follow them, which we know they don't. This would be one more rule they break.
Yeah, that's right.
They want to circumvent the rules because, well, you citizens, you regular folk, boy, that pisses me off. Regular folk, bullshit. You take the money out of my check, I can't be regular.
That's right.
So,
you can't.
No, you can't be regular when they take it without you
can't.
getting a chance at it.
That's
and
right.
So don't call me a regular folk. I'm participating in this nonsense. And so give her a chance. If she fails, she fails. If she does an okay job, maybe I'll vote for her. I don't know.
Yeah.
But don't tell me she can't do it until she proves it.
Right.
That's fine with me. That's how the system's built. And these bastards, white men, want to say no. It's bullshit.
Now, Jeff, I just saw a Fox News poll that came out this afternoon, and they rated all the possible Democratic replacements against Trump. And although none of them beat him, she did the best, believe it or not.
Right.
She's only down by 2 points compared to him. The rest of them are just sinking, and God knows Gavin Newsom is just a really, really slick man who can't do a goddamn thing. I mean, you get all these people, they're just incompetent. I mean, and so everyone says, oh, she's stupid. Well, she's nowhere near, she's anywhere less stupid than the rest of them. That's what I think.
That's my thing is I don't want to be known as the generation that wouldn't give her a chance. I think that's ridiculous. What are we afraid of? What is the Republican Party afraid of than saying the rules are the rules? We're going to move forward with this 25th Amendment. And if it gets voted or however that happens, Kamala Harris will become the president of the United States. And I guess they appoint the new vice president or however all that Mickey Mouse stuff works. And we continue on this gerbil wheel, and the road to hell is already paved. We're on it.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. That's right. That's correct.
There's no turn off.
No, there isn't. We're going straight to hell. That's right. Yeah. Express lane.
but if they change it now, because they say they're scared or whatever Mickey Mouse excuse they give, it changes how the rules are set, which should piss the electorate off one way or another.
Now, Vivek Ramaswamy, he has a very interesting theory here, too. He says he doesn't think they're going to do this until the last possible minute. Like that would be December, September, or October, because he says they want the honeymoon period to go into the actual election. In other words, everyone knows what's going to happen here. They'll pick somebody. The press will go, oh my God, it's the second coming of Abraham Lincoln or whatever the hell it is, and people will go nuts and nuts and nuts about, oh, this person is perfect and everything. And they'll overwhelm the news cycle. And they want that to continue into actual election day. That's his theory, which I thought was kind of interesting too. And I could certainly see that happening, Yeah,
I mean, they have a plan. Let's face it. Those guys they're like the Chinese. They have 100-year plan.
They do.
They're not free-spirited thinkers. They all have marching. I mean, look at the lie that came out Friday morning. They all spoke of the lies that Trump spoke. And
nobody mentioned the lies that Biden spoke, which are very specific. Right. I mean, Trump gets, they say Trump lies. Well, Trump exaggerates. He's a salesman. Like, for example, they said his thing about, what was it? What did he say about the fact that, he said that the trial that he went through in New York City was weaponized by the Biden administration. They're saying, well, there's no proof of that. Of course, there isn't. It's his opinion. but they
Right.
count that as a lie. Whereas Biden says, I inherited 9% inflation when I came into office, and that's a complete, utter untruth. It's just simply wrong,
Right.
But
And if Tapper would have been, if either one of those two bobbleheads that were running the moderating the debate would have said, Mr. President, the actual inflation rate was 2.3% on January 20th, and on April it was 4 or 5. It was on its, it went up like a rocket ship. The media would have had some. They would have said, well, we tried to help the president correct his misstatement, not calling it a lie. And they would have just left Trump hanging in the wind on his own rope.
yeah.
But they didn't even do that. They didn't even. And again, the sad thing is that moron took a week off of work to prepare and then dropped his own.
Well, I said this last night. He truly was overprepared, but that's actually their problem. They should have known that. I mean, you can't fill that guy's head full of those facts. He can't keep that shit straight. I mean, they should have taken. And that's the other thing too, Jeffrey. A lot of people think this was engineered to fail. That this was actually all pre-planned. That they, and it's hard. It's kind of hard not, in retrospect, not to argue with that. I mean,
and none of the 16 people that were in the Camp David with them have come out, right? They've been given the same instructions that if you speak, your family's going to get killed. Right? Because if you lined all 16 up on a stage and said, how did it go? I'll bet everything, all 16 would have said on whatever day they stopped. On Tuesday, we said the same thing as the first day. This isn't going to go well for the president and for the party. I mean, there was no time in that week of his preparation that they were clapping hands and high-fiving.
No, there couldn't have been.
No way.
That's right. And so
then they poured more information into his head.
Yeah, too much.
Made it worse.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you're professional, you should know about over preparation. I mean, that's my thing. They're saying, well, they're all professionals. It's like, no, if you're professional, you should know about over preparation. That's a real thing. It's a very real thing. And they didn't seem to take that into account at all, or they did it deliberately, one or the other,
Or Jill was in there and said he needs more. We don't know what she's been up to.
That's right.
Now, it leaked out today that Hunter Biden's been participating in a lot of these upper level meetings as Joe's wingman.
Yeah. And supposedly people in the White House are kind of going, what the hell's he doing here? What's going on?
Right.
So, you run a news organization and you talked about CNN. Let's talk about that too. So the general consensus right after the debate is that the two moderators did a pretty good job. But in retrospect, a lot of people said, well, really, CNN kind of cut their throat because they didn't make anybody happy, So the thing is, I mean, their ratings are on the toilet. So a lot of people thought that because they were centrist in the moderation, the left people thought, well, they abandoned us, and they got really pissed off. And no one really seems to think that anybody from the right or from the center is actually going to go watch CNN again. And so in some ways they're kind of screwed,
Yeah. Well, and don't you think they were just, I mean, they're such a terrible organization. There really was no way to win.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was good that they would say, hey, Mr. President or Mr. Trump, you have 67 seconds left. I mean, I thought that was good. Like, they gave them an opportunity to use their full 2 minutes. I thought that was a fair thing to do. So, like I said after the deal last week, the debate thing's dead, not just because Joe Biden is can't do them. It's just a stupid format now.
Yes, it is.
That was something when everyone just had a TV. They didn't have social media.
Right.
These rallies weren't as big as they Trump gets, I don't know what, 30, 40,000 people a night to show up.
Yeah. Yeah. 20 on average, from what I understand. You know, Biden about 200. I don't need to tell you this. We've talked about this for 3 years. That's been my big complaint. That's my primary evidence that they faked some of the election results. I don't understand how a guy can draw that few people in a crowd and get 81 million votes. I don't understand it.
Right. Yeah, that just is not the way the math works.
No,
and so again, that's going to preclude what any of this Mickey Mouse stuff they do this year, because it isn't like they can. If Trump has 70 million votes, Biden's not going to have 75 million. There's just no way they can do that.
No, they can't. Supposedly, and you and I have talked about this in previous broadcasts too, that the Republicans cheated the 2004 elections, and they didn't try in 2008 because they knew they'd be caught. Barack Obama was so popular, they thought there's no way in hell we can actually get away with this. So they let off, and it's kind of the same thing here. If they try it, it'll be the death knell to them. I mean,
right. And they've probably already cooked their goose. I mean, they never know when enough is enough. I mean, Nancy Pelosi to come out and say, was this an episode, or I don't know, she used
a condition. That's what she said. Yeah.
It's like, why even get in the weeds on that?
I know.
You got no dog in that fight other than you're going to be tarred with. You tried to defend him. Don't try to defend. He's the president. No one should try to defend him.
Well, that's what she does. I mean, it's like that's her thing. Hey, let's
think that power.
I love to talk business with you, so let's talk about this, about the fact that it was brought up. The national debt was brought up during the debate, and so the deal is, okay, Trump did run the debt up really high. Regardless of what Biden says is another lie he's telling now. He's going to run it up higher by the end of his term. He's going to have more. He's going to run up more debt. I'm getting back to this thing about you can't print this much money. We're talking about like $7 trillion in 3 years. I mean, right now the national debt's at $36 trillion. I think it's like $100,000 for every taxpayer or something like that. It's ridiculous. We're never going to pay it off ever. But the thing is, don't we have to at least stop the bleeding, don't we? I mean, shit.
Yes, right. Well, and like I said, in a business or in a country, that those are fixable things. People they don't want to make it sound like it is, because it takes away that fear chip or card that they get to play. But really, you just go to your creditors and say, this is all we can get you. What do you want? You want something or nothing?
Yes. Okay.
And the other side is then you stop the spending. You take all these military bases back.
Right.
That stops a big bunch. You get rid of a ton of the bureaucracy, and you shrink the government.
I think you could cut the federal budget, the annual budget, by half, and nobody would notice a thing.
Yeah, and then take it to the state level too, because if you cut it federally, then you have to say to the states, you got to cut yours in half too.
Yeah.
Which is a win-win to everyone that's getting their paycheck thieved every payroll.
But I don't know, is anybody going to do that? Assuming Trump wins this election, assuming he does, it'll be really interesting to see what he does on the economic front. I mean, everyone seems to think he'll at least attempt to dismantle the deep state. I don't know if he can succeed. I have no idea how hard that's going to be. But
right, because you just don't know where it's all at. There's so much cloak and dagger going on.
Geez, unbelievable. And these people, they live for this too. That's the other thing.
Yes,
it's not just go ahead.
The whole thing about this January 6th stuff that keeps coming up, I just don't know. They've already had the January 6th committee. They found what they found. They're punishing these people. That horse is gone. You can't even whip it anymore.
I know, and they keep doing it.
Bannon's in jail. Navarro's in jail. You you can't say you're scared that this guy's going to put people in jail when you're already doing it.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, exactly. They are doing the very thing they've always accused Trump of possibly doing, and they're doing it. The last
Right.
figure I saw is that 950 people who stormed the Capitol are now in jail. 950 of them. Now, some of them are only in jail for 3 or 4 months, but still. The one who's in jail the most, 22 years, he wasn't even there. That's the part
Right.
I don't get. I can't wrap my mind around that. They said, well, he planned it all remotely. Well, what? What did he plan? I mean, shit, it was a spontaneous riot. It's like shit. I mean,
Right.
what kind of planning is it? 22 years for that? I mean, I can't, I don't know. Even if you're going to go under the assumption what these people did was wrong, the sentences seem to me to be way, way too harsh, but whatever.
Right. Right. And I want to get back to some business things. So, again, Biden is draining the national oil reserve.
Yes, that's right.
Keep the price of oil down.
Yes.
So, from a strategic standpoint, this is going to empower Trump to just open up the oil exploration tenfold compared to what it was in his first administration.
Yeah.
Which in turn will give a whole group of these what do you call these young little bastards, these 20-year-olds? Are they millennial? I don't even know what they are.
Well, let's just say social justice warriors.
Yeah, right. The Free Palestine age group.
Oh, Queers for Palestine. Yeah.
Right. They're going to be able to go get these jobs that are going to pay, $150,000 to $250,000 working, no college education.
Yeah.
God, they're just, if you can work, you're going to make a shit pot of money because we can pay our debt down quicker because we'll have this revenue coming in. So to me, that's one thing that's good because the fuel prices continue to affect everything.
Yeah, hold it. We need to address something here. So every single time the taxes have been lowered in the United States, revenue actually into the government has gone up. And the Democrats cannot wrap their mind around this. They just can't. Because first of all, it's a little counterintuitive, but it's not that hard. It's exactly what you're talking about. You drop taxes, people invest money in a whole bunch of shit, people hire more people, those people end up paying taxes. You got more people working for more money, their taxes are higher, and revenue into the government goes up. And why can't I don't understand. It's like, I think this is one of those things I think we have to pound in the American public's head. This is the way this works,
Well, and the Democrats, they know it works. They won't admit it works.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not that they can't wrap their mind around it. It flogs their own dog. The truth of it. So I was at a car dealership yesterday. I've got a new gas burner and it needed a blood transfusion. So I was talking to the finance guy, and he was talking to some of these younger salespeople, and they're like, the corporate profits are out of control. And he's like, well, didn't you guys want corporations to pay more taxes? What do you mean? That's what you guys have been leveraging for. Corporations aren't paying enough taxes. Now their profits are up. That's the only way they pay taxes is by corporate profits.
Yeah.
And so they're scratching their heads.
Oh, these are the young people?
Yes, these are the young salespeople.
And so corporations are greedy, right? That's the deal.
Yeah. And so they're like, well, it's still not fair that they're making all this money. And this guy is well versed because of his position in car financing to understand how our U.S. car manufacturers work. He says, well, look at it this way. If Starbucks traditionally opens 72 new stores a year, and they didn't open any in 2024, all that money they would have spent is now profit because they haven't spent it to expand because they don't want to expand. In fact, they're cutting. Some stores aren't open as long. Their bean counters are moving the money around. They've got more profits. They're going to pay more taxes. So what's the complaint? Joe said corporations should pay more taxes. They are.
Yeah.
The thing is, because our education system sucks so bad, no one's ever taught how that the velocity of money, especially in these huge corporations, it doesn't do them any good to have it sitting in their bank account.
No.
They need to either be investing in R&D or physical expansion like Starbucks, more stores, more sales,
Yeah.
blah, blah. But they're not taught any of that stuff because we think it takes 18 years to get an education. I was just listening to Coast on early Sunday morning, and there was a guy on there, Bruce DeTorres. He wrote a book, God. I can't remember. I tried to buy the book, but it's back ordered right now. Anyway, he says it takes 50 hours to teach a kid how to count, read, and write. He goes, it's ridiculous that we leave them in these indoctrination stations for 18 years.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Kids are not taught to critically think.
No, not only that, Jeff, and I've said this before, I think that the fact we don't teach basic economics in high school is almost maybe a liberal plot. It's like,
oh, not almost. It is a liberal plot.
It's like we live in the most capitalist country on earth and nobody knows shit about money. It's unbelievable.
Right.
I mean, it should be a basic thing like home ec in high school. I don't know if they still teach home ec. I don't know what they teach. No. Who was I listening to? Somebody on the line was talking about the fact that they homeschool their kids. They spend 90 minutes a day homeschooling their kids. 90 minutes. Their kids are acing all the standardized tests.
Yeah,
just completely 90 minutes a day. And that's because if people go to high school don't even spend that. I mean, it's all bullshit. I don't know. You got me going here. It's like,
and remember, in the classroom, they're teaching to the lowest idiot.
Yeah, that's true.
They're saying to the lowest idiot, hey, you got to catch, and until you're 30, you're trying to catch Judy because she's smarter because she's a woman and they learn quicker. But that's not how it works. Joey's the disruptive little bastard, so everyone's got to come down to Joey's level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everyone's a moron. Judy's like, I am so bored. Give me a telephone so I can.
Right. And when I was in school 50 years ago, they very quickly separated people basically by their, for lack of a better term, intelligence level. They had higher classes and lower classes, and then you end up, but now they won't do that because that's unfair. It's like, so you're right. Everybody gets lumped together. And it's all bullshit.
And the bar is brought down. It's never raised.
Yeah, that's correct. Right. No, well, that's the thing about communism. It's like we'll all suffer together. Instead of some of us making money, none of us will make any money. So it's like, that's really fair. That's great. That's fantastic. Hey, I want to run something by you here. Speaking of business. So this came up in an article, and I was kind of been aware of that. You and I have kind of talked about this in the past about the fact, okay, AI is raising its ugly head. But the problem with AI is that it burns up a shitload of electricity. I don't know if you're aware of this. Like, for example, this was in this article about the fact that a standard Google web search takes up only 1/10 of the electricity of a standard AI query online. Like, you go to ChatGPT and you type in a question. That question takes 10 times more electricity to solve than a standard Google web search. And so now everyone's talking about all these people are talking about climate change, which of course I go on record. It's complete, utter bullshit. Climate change is crap. But the fact of the matter is it does take electricity. They're talking about building these giant data centers. And where are we going to get the electricity to run this?
Right. Maybe that'll be the death of Facebook. The Facebook warehouses will turn into AI warehouses.
And you actually that might be true. I mean, it's like Facebook.
One or the other got to go.
Yes, that's correct.
Right? And AI is people are gonna want AI before they want Facebook, because Facebook is yesterday's news.
Yeah, and also like 8 trillion pictures of people's cats. That's stored somewhere. That has to be stored somewhere. It's like I don't know, but no, the electrical grid in the United States is shot. It's completely obsolete, and they're talking about the amount of power that this stuff's going to need is mind-boggling. I think in this article they said that by 2026, which is only like 18 months from now, uh, AI is going to end up taking up the same amount of electricity as the entire country of Japan. It's like that alone, and by 2030 it'll be way worse. It's like,
yeah, I mean, these are just more self-fulfilling prophecies. Go get electric car, so it's car versus AI.
yeah, that's right.
Well, again, they do, like you said, they can't wrap their minds around them. They're aware of all this stuff. They just do this. They just look away.
Yeah, they do. That's right. And
AI is amazing. I mean, I see how it's being used across businesses. I mean, it's a legitimate tool to use. You got to read through what the answer you get for your question, but it helps you think it gives you a paradigm shift quicker than the old whatever we used in the past.
yeah.
Most of this history.
I have to tell you, I don't use AI very often, but I have Microsoft Copilot on my phone, and I asked it a question this afternoon. It was Jill Biden really the Biden's babysitter? That's what I asked, and it came back and said no, it wasn't. And that picture that they always show of Jill sitting on Joe's lap was when they were first dating. She was 23 and he was 32, although she looks like she's 17 in the picture. So it's like, but no, apparently no, she was not the Biden's babysitter. So it's like I'm really glad Microsoft was
trust AI like Google.
That's right. I know. And I'm thinking, oh, this is all bullshit. Whatever. I don't know.
Right.
Oh man.
Glenn Beck today was comparing her to, was it Woodrow Wilson's wife? Did
Yes.
Woodrow Wilson have a stroke?
Edith Wilson, right.
Yeah. So 17 months she was running the country while he was laying in bed all stroked out. She'd
That's
come
right.
down and say, Woodrow wants me to sit in on this, and she'd take notes, go back to his room. She'd scribble some stuff like it was his writing, come back down.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So Glenn was saying she was America's first president.
Yeah.
Woman president.
That's right. And Warren Harding's wife pretty much killed him. I don't know if you've ever read into that, but at least that's a theory. He was going down the tubes, and she thought she'd put him out of his misery. So I don't know.
She was the original Kevorkian.
Yeah, that's right. That's correct. And the thing is, and I don't know too much about this, but I watched Dana Lash. Oh, I got it. I have to. She's like the only person. If I had a choice between watching me and her, I'd watch her. It's like she's just so damn good. I mean, she just is. So she's talking about the fact she's a woman, of course, and she's kind of fashionable. I didn't realize this, but that cover of Vogue where Jill Biden's wearing that. Well, I didn't catch this until she pointed it out, and that is that dress fits her all wrong. It's like it was not really tailored for her body, and it's like,
oh, really?
Yeah, and of course you need a woman to point that out. But after Dana's actually going about the sleeves are too long, the waist wasn't taken in right, and it's like, yeah, I'm looking at it and saying, yeah, you're right. She's right. It is. It's like
all I heard was a $5,000 dress.
Yeah, it was a $5,000 dress. Yeah, I know.
I couldn't tell a 5 to a 50.
I can't either. That's the reason I'm watching Dana. She's telling me, So she looks way better than me too. There's that also,
Well, yeah, on a good day, maybe.
You're flattering me. You see me without a shirt on, man. It's like it's not pretty.
Can't get that image out of my head.
And no, you can't. And the terrible thing is, 30 years ago, it was pretty good looking. Not anymore. No, not anymore. Oh man. I tell you what, I'm going to do some UFO stuff, and you don't want to be around to see this. But let's actually let's promo before you go. Let's promo your website, okay? Here it is. Here's the front page of Conk in real time, and also this article. This wasn't here. This flipped over while I set this up. The article on the top left. I keep remembering people can't see my cursor. The article on the top left about Rachel Maddow. Now, did you hear about this, Jeff? She's doing a 2-hour interview tonight with Stormy Daniels.
I have not. That's wonderful. Hopefully she's got pictures of the Donald or something.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, David Strom wrote about this, and he said she's not that interesting. No, what are you going to talk about? It's like, I could get 20 minutes tops out of this woman. What are you going to talk about for 2 hours? It's like, I fucked a bunch of men. Okay. Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, again, it's a retread of they just don't have any original thought, especially Maddow. She's just angry. She's lucky she's an American. She'd be run out. She wouldn't have any position that she's in any other country, or she'd be there.
That's correct. Yeah, just like the Queers for Palestine. Yeah, you go to Palestine and try that. I can't get over it. I'm going to be making fun of that in years. Yeah, it's Queers for Palestine. Yeah, that sounds good.
So
anyway,
that's Conk News, and you go to conk.com and
conk.com, right? Yeah.
Yep, conk.com. And again, like Jim said, these articles rotate every 3 hours. We go out and grab the latest articles out from about 75 different news sources. That's a direct link. Picture headline is straight from the article. We don't touch anything like some of the other people that have news aggregators out there. We believe that these journalists have worked hard to put this information together, and the companies they work for don't need us meddling with their work. And so that's how conk.com works.
I've never brought this up before, Jeff, but this should be pointed out. As far as I know, you'll have to forgive me because it's been a while since I've been there. But as far as I know, no company that you guys take news from has ever complained about anything going on here, right?
Correct. Yes. No, I've gotten no correspondence.
Right.
The gal that started 100% fed up. She's retired now. She was grateful that we were giving her some, to me, it's just extra exposure. Again, when you click through to that story, you're going directly to their website. And so from there, all their ads are there, all their revenue sources are there. This is just a shortcut of a shortcut to take you to that actual news website.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the reason they like it, basically. Yeah. You're not depriving them of any revenue. If anything, it's the opposite, so.
Yeah, which is what my goal is. It's like these people need exposure. Fox doesn't need exposure. There's some Breitbart on here, but very little. These are small independent news, conservative news companies, and it's that's why it's here. If you want to chew on the news, I say start with a morning dose of Morning Joe. See what the other side's going to be complaining about, so you're all ready. I heard it Sunday at church about the debate. I said, who'd ever vote for a cadaver? I said, they already made a TV show called The Walking Dead. So,
hey, Jeff, I do have to ask you, though. Your minister wasn't talking about this from the pulpit, though, was he?
No.
Good. That's good. No. Some do,
Yeah, no. They keep it in the instruction manual. They speak from the instruction manual. But I love the response we're getting from you promoting conk.com. So thank you doing it nightly for us on your show.
My pleasure. It's like, I know this is a truly great news source. It is truly the best news aggregator on the internet, period. There's no comparison in my mind. So it's like the least we can do.
Good.
So, okay, man. I tell you what, I'm going to let you go. because I
Yeah,
got
I'm off now. I won't be back until the end of July. I'm going on a little
yeah.
trip abroad, and we'll talk about it when I get back.
You want to mention where you're going, or do you want to wait?
Yeah, I'll wait.
Okay, all right,
I might have, might
okay,
have some good stuff when I get back. So
good. That's good. Yeah, bring some pictures. It'll be fun.
I will.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. You take care
Thank
of
you
yourself,
for
all right?
having me. Good night,
We'll see you.
everyone.
That's Jeff Meyer, CEO and publisher of Conk News. That's at conk.com, Conk News. Now, and also, we didn't point out there during our little promo about the fact that it's completely free and you don't have to register or subscribe to see it. There are some ads on the front page, but other than that, it's basically a one-page website. You go there. That's as simple as that. It can't be any simpler. It can't be any cleaner. It just can't. So, it's part 3 here of our show. Here we talk about paranormal stuff. We talk about science stuff, hard science stuff, soft science stuff, the UFO stuff. This is what we talk about in part 3. If you want to call up, please do so. Numbers are on the bottom of the screen. They're going by, or you can send a text or whatever. First thing I want to address is something I talked about last night about the fact that these people, about a dozen employees at the Red Rocks Amphitheater in Colorado, saw a giant silver UFO over the facility. And they did. And not only that, they were all together when they saw it. Apparently, they were constantly asking each other, do you see this? Do you see this? So you got a dozen people who all saw this together. Now, what didn't come out in that story till later is that they did see this thing. First of all, there's several people there who thought that they thought intuitively that as soon as this thing noticed that it was seen, it started to fly away, and it backed away basically slowly. But the really weird thing is it did not fly off into the horizon. They said it started to move away and then it just disappeared right in front of their eyes. It just vanished, and of course that's cloaking. And there's a lot of people who say, and this has been my theory, and that is that I think that these things are flying around our atmosphere constantly, but they're mostly cloaked. And this is these people, this family that said this UFO crashed in their backyard in Las Vegas last year. They said they saw beings in their backyard and the spacecraft, and it disappeared. But people who they filmed part of this or whatever on their phone, and that footage has now been analyzed and run through a bunch of filters. And this guy, I think his name is Scott Rudder, if I'm right, he's a big forensic analysis. He says that by running the footage through these filters, he can see the extraterrestrials on the tape. He said they were cloaked. They had some sort of device that made them invisible. But he said by manipulating the tape, they were actually able to see them. That's what he's seeing. And so supposedly the same thing here. And this is my thing. I've been going on about this for a long time. I think these things are flying around our atmosphere all the time, and no one can see them. Now, one of the proofs of this is that local television news crews, this apparently now happens so regularly they don't bother to report it anymore. They will go on, it's like your local television station, whatever, ABC, CBS, or whatever the hell it is, and in the town that's closest to you, there's about 400 local affiliate television stations in the United States, if I'm right. So they go out and they're at the Pride Parade or somewhere, they're just shooting shit, to put on TV. And a lot of times they will leave a camera just on a tripod pointing toward the sky while they're setting shit up, their reflectors or the lights or whatever, getting some stupid anchor to do a stand-up. And they get back to the station and they're editing the footage, and they constantly see in these static shots of these cameras just pointing somewhere randomly, they see UFOs constantly. And that's the theory, is that, well, they don't see them at the time because they're either cloaked or they're going by so fast. And that's another thing too. There are videos that people have found when they've actually slowed them down or analyzed them after the fact, where there's UFOs in the frames that are going by extremely fast, very fast. So anyway, this cloaking thing seems to be a legitimate deal. It really does. So anyway, I'm bringing that up because you need to know that. And so what else I got here? Oh, this is really interesting. Apparently, in the last couple weeks, at the 50th, I think it's the 50th Street station on Broadway in Manhattan, there's been a bell that's been going off in a stairwell constantly for like 2 weeks. But here's the really weird thing. Apparently, you have to be standing in exactly the right spot to hear it. In other words, you walk through this spot and you will hear this bell very clearly. Apparently, it's actually loud, but as soon as you walk a few steps farther, it goes away. It's the really, they do not know understand what's going on here. They don't understand what the source of the sound. They don't understand why you can only hear it in a certain spot. It's like it's just really really odd, and it's a continuing mystery. So there you go. There's that. So here's an article from the New York Post. This is really fascinating too. Oh, I'm sorry. This is from the Daily Star in the UK. Which, if you like UFO and weird news, they're great at this shit. So they say they are contending that there's less ghosts in the UK now because there's less places for ghosts to hang out. That's their contention, is that all the old musty buildings that were haunted are being torn down and they're basically not being replaced, and the ghosts are either have gone away. So the ghost hunters in the UK say there's way less ghosts to hunt. Okay, fine. There's that. And finally, UFOs were spotted at a Blue Angels show. I think this was in New York State, if I'm right. You know, the Blue Angels, they're flying around. They're the demonstration team for the Air Force. Actually, are they Air Force or Navy? I'm not sure. And the Navy and the Air Force each have, and I can't remember what they're called, but anyway, the Blue Angels. So they were at an air show in New York State somewhere, and some people were filming them, and on the film showed up a UFO flying around the aircraft. So I just thought I'd point that out to you too. In other words, they're everywhere, and I've said this, they're everywhere, and they're here, and they're visiting us, and you should just get used to it. I talked about this last night. I'm going to talk about it again, about the fact there's people in the government and people tied to the military who say that in 2027 there's going to be a major event regarding this, and the implication seems to be that something's going to be revealed publicly. I don't know if that's a disclosure or if the ETs are going to show up publicly or something like that. But everybody, and the thing is, okay, you can say, oh, people talk about this stuff all the time, but this year, 2027, has been pointed at since about 2020. So, and it's not moving, and there are people still talking about this. And 2027, something's going to happen. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. If the things go the way they're going right now, Donald Trump will be president, and he has led on to the fact he knows more than he can talk about. So I mean, everybody's they're sworn to secrecy, and these secrets, there seems to be good reason to keep some of these things secret. Not all of them, maybe, but some of them. And I don't know what those reasons are. A lot of people think it's just that the public will panic, and that is true. I was watching a documentary uh, called "Aliens versus Bigfoot," and I don't know who produced it, and I didn't watch the whole thing. I only saw the first half of it while I'm sitting recovering from my hip surgery. And they're talking about the fact that, and this is true, Stan Gordon has been on this show, and he's one of the premier UFO and Bigfoot researchers in the United States. He's way up at the top. He's in the top 3, basically. And the fact I had to book him 5 months ahead of time, on the show. And when he came on, he could only come on with his cell phone. There was no picture; it was audio only. But he was on this show. I think it was in January. So when he talked about the fact, so he has basically morphed in his research, his professional research, from UFO research to Bigfoot research, because he says it's more fascinating. And the reason he says it's more fascinating, and I've heard many people say this, is that he says there's a paranormal aspect about Bigfoot that's completely inexplicable. his examples, and I've heard these examples too. Many people who see Bigfoot say they've seen Bigfoot disappear right before their eyes. It's now it sounds like I'm come full circle, but I'm not really not. This was accidental about the fact that the Red Rocks people saw the UFO disappear before their eyes. Many people have seen Bigfoot. Like this woman said, she was standing 6 feet away from one of them, and it just vanished right in front of her. There's that, and also the fact that this is less reported, but still reported, that some people say Bigfoot has communicated telepathically with them. Now that might be an imaginary thing. Of course, the thing about them disappearing might be too, but that's kind of it's less imaginary. I mean, if you're looking at something and it goes away, it's hard to explain that. You know, but and also I should tell you, I don't have to tell you, there's a lot of people in the Bigfoot research field that don't buy any of this stuff at all. Anyway, he's convinced. He says he's heard enough stories now and talked to enough people that he says he thinks something paranormal is going on here. Now, I tried to get him to speculate because that's what we do on the show. I don't know if you know, it's basically just entirely speculation. That's what I do, and I'm not embarrassed to admit it. There's a disclaimer at the top of the show. These are my opinions. This is not a news program. I should say this regularly, but it isn't. This is not a news program. We speculate and we delve into the opinion here. That's what we do. So I tried to get Stan to do that, and he wouldn't. He's a good journalist. He's a good investigator. He wouldn't speculate. He refused to do it. But a lot of people think that the Bigfoot phenomena and the UFO phenomena, the alien phenomena, are somehow linked. And the most plausible theory I've heard, if you want to call it plausible, is that Bigfoot is a DNA engineered hybrid between extraterrestrials, humans, and grizzly bears. Believe it or not, and that makes sense if you stop to think about it. If you cross those three things, you probably end up with a Bigfoot. So I mean, I'd like once again, that's a pure speculation. I have no idea if that's true or not. I'm just saying, but Stan Gordon is the only person who's come out about this, about the fact that there's something. In other words, like the opposite of this is our friend Larry Newman, who comes on the show regularly. Now, he does not think this. He thinks that Bigfoot is just an undiscovered primate, and that's entirely rational. I mean, there are all sorts of cryptozoological beings that are finally discovered. The giant squid is an obvious one. I mean, it was rumored for 2,000 years, and it wasn't until 2006 that they finally caught one. So, it's like 2006, less than 20 years ago. 2,000 years this was talked about. Everyone thought it was just a mythical creature. No, they're real. So now we know that, and it's a lot of people think it's the same thing with Bigfoot. It's just it's an discovered primate. And then, of course, that makes complete sense. And you wonder, well, how could it escape capture for so long? Well, that I can't tell you how or why, but it has, you know. So that makes total sense. Now, on the other hand, and this is very important too, one of those paranormal things. There's people who've said they've shot at Bigfoot, even at close range, and it doesn't seem to have any effect. So it's not that the bullets bounce off; they don't know what happens. It's like the Bigfoot seem to absorb bullets and nothing happens. They don't get hurt. So I don't know. It's like it's crazy time, man. It's like stuff's going on, and this is what we got going on here. So tomorrow night, David Strom, he's the associate editor of hotair.com. He was basically the inspiration of my Line Effing Liars thread here of these three shows. Basically, it's three shows where we're talking about the press, about how the press has basically been lying to you for years. And he is very eloquent on this. So not only we're going to have him on, but we're also going to post links to he's written 6 or 7 articles in like less than a week about this, and they're just fantastic. It's like you can't. I mean, he's a very, very eloquent writer. I'm glad he wants to come on here, and he comes on here. We yak like idiots. Now, because I have something going on. Our interview tomorrow will not be more longer than a half hour. Although we're taping it ahead of time, it won't be live, but it can't be. So we've got to get to the point. Want to thank Jeff Meyer for joining us, CEO and publisher of Conk News. And check out Conk News too, CONK.com. Can't do any better, seriously. I mean, I use it constantly. I used to work there. Proud of that association. And you can't find a better news source than this. You just can't. So tomorrow night, David Strom. Thursday night, we're taking off for the July 4th holiday. Next week, we haven't done a full week of shows here in at least 6 weeks because because of my surgery. And I thought I could come back faster than I could. Although I was talking to Tim Conaway on the phone today, and he said he's right. He said, considering what I had done, the fact that it took me a month to recover is actually not bad. So, and that's probably true. So I should knock on wood. I got a wood desk here. Knock on wood. My recovery went pretty well, and I'm doing okay. So, and thank you for your concern, if you had any at all. It's like, like I was telling Jeff, I just soon watch Dana Lash myself. She's better looking than I am, and she's smarter too. Who am I kidding? It's like, anyway. So yeah, David Strong tomorrow. We're off on Thursday, and then on Monday I don't have a schedule yet, but we'll have a full week of shows on Monday. So for the first time in a while. Thank you folks for watching. Really appreciate it. Good night, Esperanza. Good night, Uncle Donnie. And good night to you, wherever you are. We'll see you tomorrow night. Take care.